We currently live with one foot in the future and the other firmly planted in the Iron Age. We split the atom and map the human genome, yet a vast portion of humanity views the universe through the lens of ancient texts written by men who thought the Earth was flat. It is tempting to treat these beliefs as harmless private thoughts, but beliefs are principles of action. If you accept a proposition to be true, it acts as a lever, pulling your desires, expectations, and behaviors into alignment with it. Consider how you weigh risk if you are absolutely certain that dying in the right context guarantees an eternity of paradise. That singular concept rewires a human mind, stripping away the biological aversion to death and treating this physical life as a mere waiting room for the next. When you take a primate brain conditioned by Bronze Age mythologies and place it at the controls of chemical, biological, and nuclear weaponry, you create a deeply volatile mixture. The friction between our modern tools and our ancient superstitions is a liability we cannot survive. If someone claims they know how to build a passenger jet or cure a viral infection, we demand physical proof. We test their claims ruthlessly because getting the math wrong means people die. Yet society has carved out a massive blind spot for theology. We allow claims about the origin of the cosmos or a creator's moral demands to be immunized against basic rational scrutiny, simply because they are printed in very old books. We have a word for this practice: faith. It is the social convention of claiming absolute certainty about the universe while producing absolutely no empirical evidence to back it up. Because these divine mandates cannot be debated using logic or data, they become perfect tools for justifying horrific actions. A man acting on the literal word of his creator requires no diplomatic persuasion. He requires only absolute obedience. By refusing to demand evidence for religious claims, we allow abstract theological grievances to manifest as immediate physical violence on our streets. To understand why this clash is so destructive, we must look at how we acquire knowledge. The scientific method operates as an engine of truth, starting from a position of total ignorance. It posits a hypothesis, tests it against observable reality, discards the errors, and slowly builds a working model of the world. This image shows computer-generated biomorphs, illustrating cumulative selection. This mechanism explains how immense complexity arises without magic. Each variation is simple, but filtered cumulatively over thousands of generations, the sequence produces highly complex structures that look intricately designed. The dogmatic approach attempts to explain biological complexity through an entirely different mechanism. Rather than mapping out the steps, it asserts that a supernatural creator spoke the finished complexity into existence. The flaw in this assertion is that any entity capable of intelligently designing a functioning universe must be vastly more complex than the universe it creates. Invoking a designer leaves the origin of the designer completely unexplained. While empirical science does the arduous work of building complex truths out of primeval simplicity, religious dogma avoids the work entirely by postulating an unexplainable complexity right at the starting line. Because both of these engines are trying to dictate the rules of the exact same physical reality, they are bound to collide, and that epistemological friction produces real casualties. Take disease eradication. Here, a child in northern Nigeria receives the polio vaccine, a proven scientific intervention that has saved millions from paralysis and death. In 2003, clerics issued a ruling declaring these life-saving drops to be a Western conspiracy. The vaccination program was halted, and a wholly preventable disease surged back across multiple borders. This backlash occurs wherever modern secular norms offend ancient sensibilities. When a beauty pageant was scheduled in Nigeria, the perceived insult to local religious law erupted into violence, leaving hundreds dead. When rigid dogma is placed above observable reality, the resulting friction actively sabotages human health, safety, and societal progress. A popular cultural compromise is the idea of non-overlapping magisteria, the comforting thought that science and religion govern separate realms of human life and can peacefully coexist without interfering with one another. This compromise falls apart under scrutiny. Religion continuously makes explicit, competing claims about the physical domain. asserting facts about cosmic origins, the efficacy of prayer on health, and the causes of disease. In response, we have elevated the concept of religious moderation, hoping to curb the worst offenses. But this moderation effectively provides intellectual cover for extremists by reinforcing the rule that faith must always be respected and never subjected to rational critique. By shielding moderate beliefs from scientific scrutiny, we guarantee that the evidentiary loophole remains wide open, ready to be exploited by those who interpret their texts literally. There is a deep hypocrisy in how faith operates. For all the emphasis on believing without proof, the faithful prove exceptionally eager to embrace scientific evidence the moment it appears to validate their dogma. This image displays the Shroud of Turin, an artifact featuring a faint facial imprint that many hoped was the burial cloth of Jesus. The relentless effort to empirically date artifacts like this proves that believers actually crave objective physical validation for their claims. If theology wishes to make claims about the physical universe, it must be subjected to the exact same unforgiving evidentiary standards we apply to physics, biology, and history. We are rapidly entering an era where the requisite technology for catastrophic technological power will fit inside a single suitcase. In a world this heavily armed, hiding our motivations behind faith is an unacceptable excuse for ignorance. Securing a cooperative human future means we can no longer afford the luxury of this epistemological loophole. We must demand rigorous, observable evidence for every single belief that shapes our shared world.